Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Skilled Personnel Network. And again, we have a very special guest with us. We are meeting the L&D Companion faculty of speakers, and today we have with us, I'm very pleased to say, Lydia Johnson. What we're going to do today as part of the L&D Companion program is have a get to know Lydia, why she became a radiographer, and how we're looking to work together closely on the L&D Companion. So welcome to the network, Lydia.
Thank you very much, Freddie.
And so let's start right at the beginning. Lydia, we'd love to get to know what made you become a radiographer. What was the motivation? What was that spark moment? And we'll go from there.
Thanks, Freddie. So I've always had a passion for healthcare ever since I was a child. As a younger child, I did experience radiotherapy as a younger child, having had a brain tumour when I was 8 years old. So I'd already experienced a number of different health professions as a child, and so I knew that was something that I was going to be passionate about. I wanted to give back something from the experience that I had had as a child. As a teenager, I wasn't sure which direction to take, so I went to study a degree in combined health studies. That was down in Birmingham, and at that point of time, I got to know some people studying on the diagnostic radiography course, and that kind of sparked my interest into that degree, knowing that at the end point there was a career at the end of completing that degree. So I invested time in finding more about what that degree involved. I did sort of contemplate going down a therapeutic radiography route, but decided that diagnostic radiography was the right route for myself, and that sort of sparked more interest for me. So then I applied to university. So I went from doing one degree for 3 years into doing the diagnostic radiography career for 3 years, and I haven't looked back since. So I'm very glad that I made that decision, and I was fortunate on my course. There were quite a lot of people on my course who hadn't chosen radiography as a direct route at 18 years old. So there's quite a few that were more mature students. So we were able to support one another going forwards in completing that degree. So that's how I initially got into diagnostic radiography.
Wow, look at that. So, partly personal experience that sort of first led the way. And that's not it's not an uncommon route either, Lydia, is it? I mean, if you don't mind sharing with us, then, I mean, was that how old were you when this was all happening?
So I was 8 years old when I was diagnosed with a pituitary tumour. So I underwent chemotherapy and then went on to radiotherapy. And I do remember those interactions that I did have with the therapeutic radiographers, and the experience that I had was a positive experience. And obviously, trying to make a decision in your teenage years of what route to go down as a healthcare profession, I wasn't too sure which direction to take. Yeah. Interestingly, I didn't actually think I was wanting to be a speech and language therapist. So that was something I did pursue, but it just goes to show that, sometimes people don't always take the direct route to diagnostic radiography from the very start.
Correct.
From 18 onwards. So I kind of went about a bit around, and then decided for diagnostic radiography was the right route for me.
Yeah, well, sorry to all the speech and language therapists out there, but I'm glad you chose to be a diagnostic radiographer, Lydia. Let's fast forward to sort of your career now as a diagnostic radiographer, Lydia. So yep. You had these experiences, and then you were starting to form your own path and where you was going to take your career. What would you say was those sort of areas that got you into lead you up to the here and now where you're the
Yeah.
plain film radiography lead and but you're also quite heavily involved in other areas like with the SOR and everything. So let's talk about that path.
Yep. So when I qualified as a diagnostic radiographer, I got my first post at Leeds Teaching Hospitals. So that's one of the largest trusts in the UK.
Yeah.
So that's over 18 years ago, which is quite scary to think. So I came to work as a general plain film radiographer. Not long after I started working, I did get approached to ask if I would consider being a health and safety rep for our department. So that soon led me down the path to get in Society of Radiographers accreditation as a health and safety union rep and also trade union congress rep. So I did training for that. At the time, having had such a positive experience when I was a student in the interventional room that we had, I knew that was a potential career pathway that I would like to pursue. I did spend a lot of time in there in my third year assisting the radiographers in that room. So that was something that sparked my interest working as a multi-professional team. But found that really enjoyable, working as a collaborative team with the patient as the focus. So that led me down my career path to then working in the cardiac catheter labs. So I did that on a rotational basis. So I'd spend a month in the cardiac catheter labs and then a month in the X-ray department, still whilst being a health and safety rep across both areas. I would say the opportunities then arose within Society of Radiographers that I then became a health and safety lead on the exec committee for our region, which is Yorkshire and the North Trent. And that opened up even more doors. And my passion for health and safety then led me on to being nominated not only as a regional rep of the year, but also that also enabled me to become part of our health and safety forum. This is a national group where there is one nominated rep for each region to represent, and then we discuss health and safety issues and topics within the Society of Radiographers and how we can move things forward. So I chair that and have chaired that since. So that's kind of health and safety has been sort of a bit of a passion of mine. I then had an opportunity then came up to become more involved with the clinical education for our students, our university students. So our trust helps educate one of the local universities. They had a change of structure, and that meant there was an opportunity to then become a clinical tutor. So then I came back from the cath labs and then took on that role for half my time. So I've been working as a clinical tutor and a general radiographer probably since 2016. So coming up to 10 years. And then in February this year, for fast forward some time, an opportunity came available to cover a secondment for a team manager working at a cross site. So that's not only in an X-ray department, but we have a dental hospital in Leeds where we train all the future dentists and hygiene therapists. And so we have a dedicated X-ray department where we can support any dental imaging that's required. I kind of was I pursued an interest in leadership. During the pandemic, I set up a group, Health and Safety Forum for managers within our CSU. So our CSU encompasses radiology, but also medical imaging. So I set this up as a monthly meeting, primarily to focus on an annual health and safety audit that every department has to complete, but also providing education on like risk assessments, workplace inspections, and enabling me to feedback from Trust Health and Safety Board meetings that I attend and feed that information back, and also nationally from the Society of Radiographers information of where things are going with regards to health and safety. So that involved that role as health and safety lead for our CSU involves providing support to over 30 departments. And so that can also be managers and health and safety champions, and also having a better network with our Trust Health and Safety team. So I continue doing that role currently whilst I'm in this management position.
Wow, goodness me. Lydia, did you find that at that point in your career where these opportunities were coming up, and this is going to feature quite heavily on what we're looking to do with L&D Companion, is understanding those trigger points and those opportunities when they come up, because we often maybe miss them because we might be caught up in other things. Well, tell me about those trigger points for you. In like, did you find yourself saying yes to a lot of things? And was there sort of like, sometimes you need to be in the right place to say yes? What was it? I mean, other than obviously, I think probably standing out as a radiographer, I'm sure, but you know, I'd be interested to get your trigger points.
Yes, I would say sometimes there felt like opportunities that I felt obliged to say yes. And obviously workload pressure forever increasing, but I think that happens in whichever role that you sit in. I would probably say one of the things that I would say to a lot of people is pay banding isn't everything, and everybody has opportunities to progress, and that pay banding people shouldn't necessarily be focused on. So obviously for a number of years I did do that. I've been in that role as health and safety lead for our CSU, but it's something that I am passionate about, and I think you've got to be really passionate about something to make it fulfilling.
Definitely. And I'm sure as a result of that passion, what you've done is you've looked to make people understand the importance of it, right? And that's probably, that again probably features in the way that you approach your training on it, Lydia. I think that's the thing, it's understanding the importance of it, because you know, on the face of it, education in general may not seem like a very attractive topic, but actually we have ways of making it, you know, interesting and attractive by the way that we teach it and bring it across. So on that note, Lydia, what would you say? I mean, we met at UKIO, and it was that opportune moment that you came to the SOR stand, and we, you know, I was running that, you know, that sort of Q&A with Boz. But you know, and just from that moment of speaking with you, it's fair to say, I thought, well, we've got to find a way of working together on this. And you know, what would you say in terms of CPD education, in terms of L&D for radiographers? What is it you enjoy the most about that aspect of it, and you know, how can we really drive you know, L&D as a subject which not only people are just doing for their CPD, but we can actually do it to really develop their radiographers' careers?
So a couple of different points I just want to sort of highlight. Probably what I would say is about CPD isn't always about waiting for people to come and say, here is the CPD for you to do. Every radiographer learns in different ways, whether that's physically attending a conference or whether that's reading some research. So I would say putting yourself out there, being able to go and attend different events or different conferences, or coming on and listening to one of our future talks. I think there should be something out there for everybody, but you do have to put yourself forward to being involved in CPD. CPD should be ever evolving at whichever level you're currently working at or working towards. If you are a student, I think it's really important that students and learners, like apprentices that may also be, listening to this podcast, it's really important that this is set in stone from the start, from when you were even a first year student, that CPD is for life, and that you've got to set your time aside to continually learn, continually progress. And like I've mentioned, progression isn't always about pay banding. So it could be learning new life skills. It could be enhancing on skills that you currently have. It could be something that you could learn outside of the work environment, excel in that, and then bring something into the work environment and help support other people progress. So I do think those are some sort of key areas that I do think are sort of important. I think it's important that we recognise people learn in different ways. I definitely think that's really, really sort of key. And it's having the right mindset about how you wish to progress, but also knowing that the path isn't always straight. You don't have to always go down this direct path. There's many different branches, but then you could come back to a similar pathway. But it also could mean that you go off down one branch and then that opens up many other opportunities. So had I not come to that stand to listen to your talk and then talk to you afterwards, we wouldn't be here today.
No, and it, honestly, I think between that talk, Lydia, and then our subsequent discussions, it was fairly obvious what we could do with your knowledge and expertise and what you've done, locally and regionally at, in terms of health and safety and just some of these other topics. They're all relevant, like across the UK, across the whole of the NHS, and this was our opportunity to just sort of amplify that. I know our first discussion, or your first topic, is going to be on professional conduct. We're not going to give too much away because we want people to join in on that. But I'd love to just get a flavour of what, of that, Lydia, I guess, and also just your sort of what you'd really love to push as a kind of getting radiographers from where they may be at what point in their career to to another stage in their career. Bearing in mind what you said to me, which is there's always an evolving learning for people in their careers.
Yes. So the first talk that is going to be around topic of professionalism and what that actually means in the workplace for everybody. Sort of recognising on some key areas and talking about civility and what is civility and how that actually can impact a work environment, ultimately affect our learning and professional development whilst we're in that work environment. So that's what the first topic that I'm going to be talking about sort of covers. So lots of information to cover in a short space of time. So hopefully people look forward to joining us for that topic. One thing I probably would say is sort of recognising that we need to support our future workforce and giving different opportunities, CPD opportunities to our future workforce is really important. Yeah. And whether that's down a leadership route, radiography has so many different opportunities in career pathways, and sometimes I don't think that's always recognised when learners are coming up into radiography, whether that's, you know, from a clinical perspective or a non-clinical perspective. But career progression can happen in so many different ways, and not just down a more traditional route, and further opportunities are ever evolving within the radiography currently. So it's keeping your eyes open to different opportunities that may come available, and also not necessarily just within radiography, but as an allied health professional as well. I think that's really important, and within the NHS, if you wish to stay in the NHS, or in a private sector as well.
Yeah,
So I do think, you know, it's key.
Sorry, Lydia, you carry on. I was just saying,
That's okay.
I totally agree with you, by the way, but sorry, yeah, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, further sort of insights as well. Like in my current role, there's been opportunities to have further progression. So like I'm a budget holder, so having to learn all about finance. That's something I never even considered would be part of a role as a radiographer. But actually, you know, holding a budget, having to learn about finance, reading reports. So project management, you know, having new equipment, putting a project together, have new equipment installed. So that is again another facet that I would never have thought would be as a role that I would be undertaking. So opportunities to network if you go to different CPD events, if you go to national conferences. It's always good to reach out, go to stands. So if you're thinking about what does CPD mean for you, if you're somebody that likes to go to physical conferences, please do speak to people, because you never know where you'll end up.
On the podcast. As a speaker, do you know what, Lydia? I think it's I mean, we could go down a real professional rabbit hole, but actually, it's worth mentioning. What I hope we can develop with this is, with all the webinars, is, you know, when is it the point in your career, for example, like you just mentioned there about, you know, a budget holder, right? Well, it may not occur when you're a student radiographer, because it may be so clinically focused that this is going to be something that you're going to be doing. But at which point do you start to introduce that level of understanding, even if it's just whether it's a module, whether it's a discussion, a piece, a session. And you know, interestingly, because we're going to have all types of listeners and subscribers, from students all the way through to senior leadership, you know, I think the welcome thing is that every radiographer, whether they're student or they're qualified, are going to have access to all of the webinars, and they're going to be topics like this, like, you know, and I think the truth of the answer, you know, of it is that I don't think there's ever an early point. It just means that it's going to happen at different points in people's careers, right? So if a student radiographer is listening in, you know, and they hear about, you know, various types of work, and it could be around, you know, budget holding, and you know, and what it's like to be a budget holder, because, you know, the responsibility that comes with that. How do you train that? And I think personally, the way that we can bring it about is through people that have experienced it and have gone through it. So did anyone train you how to deal with that aspect of your leadership role?
I spent some time with the team manager that I was about to overtake before she went on maternity leave. And knowing that at that point in time, our trust didn't have any dedicated training in place. That has now, only in the past month, slightly changed. So I didn't have any training. It was having to learn on the job, and sitting with finance managers that we have to sit with every single month for our trust, going through budgets. I was in a fortunate position. They were very supportive, the finance team, in providing me with some basic training to get me started and get me going. I would say sometimes each month is a challenge, trying to decide on how you may spend money for a department. Do you fix some broken equipment? Do you get some new equipment purchased? So it's like an added facet to the job title as a team manager for that department. So insightful in having to shop for different items, have conversations with industries that you probably wouldn't necessarily get in my other role at the main site. So having conversation, making those networks with companies. Again, at events like UKIO, going up to the stands, the companies that provide some of the services to our department, and then sort of making sure that those networks maintain as well. That is a two-way sort of conversation, and seeing what else could be offered or what new equipment is out there. So I'd say that is something that's always ever evolving, making new connections, new networks, being able to get equipment arriving quicker if you make those positive conversations with different companies as well. That has definitely been broadened my horizons also even further.
Well, definitely. It's fair. It's fair to say, Lydia, you've touched upon something which is absolutely what we're trying to also deliver with the L&D Companion, which is that we want to offer a safe space for people to hear this experience and be able to learn from it, because you've trodden. You speak about a not supportive environment that you were in, and but a lot of it you still had to learn on the job, so to speak. Now, what I think we don't necessarily always have access to, and what I hope we can, is people that have lived and done that can start to help support those that are about to embark on that same journey. And how better is it that we can create an environment where we can help people that are about to go in that. We create a safe space for people to reach out. And that for me is going to be one of the most exciting parts, because as part of our series and our webinars as we go along, Lydia, is that there's going to be different ways in which we're going to present these sessions. We are going to have workshops, we are going to have presentations, but we're also going to have Q&A sessions. So if the general feedback is that there's a particular topic that we can choose, that we bring you in and on Q&A, and we get people to start asking questions, because in that environment we're going to get them to also learn so much as well, and we want them to get as much from this as possibly can to use into their day-to-day practice. That's the bit for me that I think will be a winner for us, if we can really give our webinars, our weekly sessions, give enough bite-sized knowledge to go and do something different and practical with what they've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think that having bite-sized CPD enables better progression, continuous learning, rather than leaving it all to bulk in at one point at the end of a month, or even just before the CPD audit, which happens every 2 years, the HCPC audit that comes around, and suddenly everybody's cramming in 2 years of CPD in order to provide it as evidence. So yeah, little bite-sized bits is better for CPD, definitely.
Well, we hope we can definitely fulfill that part of it. Lydia, before we get to my last question, which I'm going to surprise you with, was there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not that I can think of. No. The only thing I probably would say is be open to opportunities, because leadership and management is not something I had initially predicted in my career. So, and here I am currently. So, just broaden your horizons and maybe take opportunities that you wouldn't have necessarily initially thought that you were going to take.
Yeah, brilliant. Throw yourself out there. Get one of the talks that's going to be down. I'm not going to give too much away. Will be around getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and that is in all different types of aspects to your role, because actually in many ways you're performing that role with who walks through that door every day. You don't know what you're going to see in whatever role you play. So definitely right. So my question to you, Lydia, and the reason I'm asking this, and I'm going to ask it from all my guests going forward, is to really bring out the character and the personality in our radiographers. So if you weren't a radiographer, if you didn't become a radiographer, what would you have become, do you think? And you could be inventive. What was it could be something from when you were childhood or something that you was going to pursue.
Well, I could tell you when I was 4, I wanted to be a painter and decorator. Having done a whole load of DIY, I definitely couldn't have been a painter and decorator, is all I can say. I think I probably, looking back, would have potentially gone down a career of being a speech and language therapist.
Yeah.
Like I originally planned. But yeah, that's definitely something in healthcare. It is something I've always wanted to do. So yeah.
Destined to have got into healthcare in one way, shape, or form. Well,
Yeah.
you know what, Lydia, it's our delight to have you as part of the L&D Companion program, and I can't wait to get cracking with this. You're going to be amazing. Everyone, I think, is going to really enjoy your sessions from everything we've discussed and gone through. Thank you very much for agreeing to be part of it. I think it's going to be amazing. And for everyone who's listening, we go live with Lydia's talk on the 4th of November. If you're watching this post that, then enjoy it and enjoy the presentation as well. And join up to the L&D Companion, the Skilled Personnel Network, to find out more. Thank you very much, Lydia, and can't wait to be working with you.
Thanks.